Almost ready. It's ready to play. It's already playing. Ah, goodness. Hold on one second. Can't help. All right. I'll just do it manually. Is this gonna work? Oh, it's gonna work. Theme song. Theme song. We missed our theme song today. It's all right. There's a mute button somewhere. Welcome to the Bolinas Civic Group February 24th meeting. Hold on. Oh, goodness. As you'll notice, today it's very, what would we say, festive, right? Festive in the room. It's very pink. We have a couple of things coming up. First, I want to give thanks to our partners, the Bolinas Community Center, and our partner, the KWMR, who is a good friend of ours, and they are going to be also supporting the band tonight, which is the Coastal Scrubbers, who's going to be playing right after this. As you can see, we're a little bit cattywampus tonight, but that's okay. They're a great band. They play, I heard them practicing Beatles songs, some Monkees songs, a lot of love songs, and that's going to be $10, which is a donation. Real quick, though, I had the basket for a reason. I just want to pass the basket around for the Bolinas Community Center. Anything you want to put in here? There's also some QR codes on the website, but if we just get this around, that would be great for everybody. Like community church. So this is Brass Tacks, Nothing But Love, which is a take on our normal Brass Tacks, Nothing But Facts. But tonight we figured we would just do the embracing of the love and all this and all that. And just about this meeting, my name, I'm looking the wrong way. Let me do this. Here we go. So much better. This is an informational meeting. Respect for all the speakers. Contact the speakers afterwards and find out more information online. And for our agenda tonight, it's going to be a little mixed up, but we're going to do a little bit crazy. First, we're going to do announcements. And before we do announcements tonight, we're actually going to hear from Aenor, who is working on the postal project. Then we're going to do some speakers. Then we've got some projects, and then we've got a dance. All right, great, fantastic. Let me go over to the other computer and get Aenor on the line and get her up on the screen for you guys, okay? Spotlight for everyone. Hey, Aenor, are you there?
I am.
Oh, that's great. I'm going to get you on the screen, Aenor. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Let's get you on the screen for everybody.
I apologize to everybody that it's going to be a huge face. Tell me when you're ready for me, Will.
Yeah, that's quite all right. As it were, there's always something that goes sort of catastrophically wrong right when I start the meeting. This time the mouse has moved to an entirely different computer. There you are. Thanks everybody. Where did the oh boy.
This doesn't count in my 5 minutes, right?
This does not count in your 5 minutes. And also, just for the record, Aenor was like, Will, I need time, and I need it like now.
Sorry.
Can you see my mouse? Oh, there it is. Hello, buddy. Come over here. There she is. I'm just going to put everybody up there.
Yeah, good. That's better.
Everybody on Zoom, you're all in the room. Aenor's in the top left corner up there. Go ahead, Aenor. Let's go.
Yeah, thank you. And Will, thanks for working this into the agenda. It just felt like timing wise, a lot of things have happened recently that we really need to update on. I have 5 minutes, so this is going to be a lightning presentation. So break out your Dramamine. First of all, happy Valentine's Day. You might see red as we talk about the post office, but ever hopeful. First, I'd like to say the master of the obvious statement. Olima's a disaster. We know this. And please keep telling us what hardships you have. Turn in your complaints to the post office system, to Jenny Calloway at Huffman's office. If you have medical concerns or health concerns that have come up, please forward those to me. I'm working closely with the Director of Public Health for the county, Matt Willis, on gathering those. So please continue to make your voice known. It is being heard. I'm going to go now to more concrete things. We do know this weekend we're likely to have flooding again at Olima, so anticipate if you're expecting medications and you're not getting them, please reach out. I can't solve everything, but with Dr. O'Malley's help, we'll work with you. But I also want to get those messages over to Matt Willis. There are two viable plans for a permanent post office in Bolinas. They have both been presented to USPS by Huffman's office. The first one is the Mesa Park plan, which met all their requirements, and it's being reviewed by their real estate office, who has taken a long time to get back, but just connected with Huffman's office saying it's been moved up to headquarters. So Huffman is leaning in on getting responses on these. The other is the owner of the Waterhouse building has sincerely offered to reinitiate the lease. We've notified the post office, USPS. We have not, to our knowledge, heard any engagement with them in that conversation, but that's being driven and coordinated forward with actual. Now, next step is present them with an actual lease, so based on what they had previously. So those two viable options are on the table for a permanent post office in Bolinas. And that's really important. I just wanted people to know where those things stood because we've talked about them before. I want to make sure you know that Huffman's office through Jenny Calloway, Dennis Rodoni's office through conversations directly with him, such as just 10 minutes ago, but also through Fernando, who happens to be in the room again tonight. And we really thank them for their support, or in the Zoom room. They are not giving up. They're not backing down. So I want you to know that they're still very much engaged. Some of you probably saw some activity in town recently that was a little bit unusual. The post office truck parked up at the fire station, a pack of 7 or 8 men walking around looking at things. It was done to the exclusion of the Bolinas Post Office Committee, but what happened was the post office filed for an application with the county to install a large number of cluster boxes. And this was done not including us in the conversation, though we've been trying to continue to work closely with them. Oh, that was a Valentine's kiss. Happy Valentine's Day over there. So what I'd like to say, though, is that we are on top of this. This was unannounced. Friday, these people showed up. They basically ambushed Jennifer Blackman at BPUD and said, we're looking at where to put cluster boxes. The first site that was proposed was deemed unsafe. So they went up to Mesa Park and they're looking up there. This is the county and USPS officials, including our postmaster, showing up unannounced at BPUD, et cetera. So we dug through all the information. We met with Huffman's office. We met with Rodoni's office. And we are in good contact about what all of that is and where things stand. And it needs to be explored. However, the issue of cluster boxes, whether we need them or not, we've never opposed them, such as we've never opposed home delivery, but we've always said it needs to be done in concert in a coordinated plan with a return of the post office physically to Bolinas, and not exclusive of that and not outside of that. So we still stand by that. If we do the cluster boxes outside of an agreement, a written agreement to get a post office back in Bolinas, it will undermine and nix our chances of getting a post office back in Bolinas, regardless of the narrative around it. The cluster boxes are being driven partly because there has been an undermining of the contracted home delivery service, which is the legitimate government contract for home delivery, which has been in our town for many, many years, but it's been hampered by the fact that all of your names that you put in on your forms for home delivery do not get given to that contracted person. And so we're doing an investigation around that. There's a parallel home delivery service that was set up by our postmaster, which is hand-picked off the list as to who gets it, who doesn't, so not equal access. So we're really investigating those things. If we could open up the legitimate home delivery service to more people, there may not be a need for cluster boxes. But anyway, we're considering all of those things. We don't oppose any of them. We want them done in a coordinated effort that includes the return of a physical post office to Bolinas. So several people wrote to me and said, who are these people walking around? And that's what we learned about it in a matter of 48 hours. So I think it's really important that we continue to communicate the way we are as a community so that our collective voice gets represented to our key representatives and continue to be represented directly to the post office. I do think that what we should do also is make sure that we're taking opportunities to give our voice through the complaint system, but also there's going to be an opportunity with Huffman in town and Rodoni for the town to show up and talk to them, but also there will be an opportunity for them to actually see what we're dealing with the Olema post office. And so I'm going to post when that's going to happen. It's probably going to be the beginning of next week, but we would love as many people to engage with them as possible. Another thing that we need to talk about is that there are explorations being done as to what kind of investigation should be launched, because at this point, there's so many obvious mismanagement and harmful things that have happened that an investigation is necessary. And whether that happens through the elected officials or we launch an investigation through private means is being discussed Friday with our elected officials. The topics would be a lack of ADA accessibility. That's a really interesting topic that needs to be explored, investigated, and possibly legal action taken. But also, why are the names not being given to the legitimately contracted home delivery service? Why is that service being so undermined and our local delivery people being driven off the front lines? I'm in contact with the contracted woman since 1991. And so I'm getting direct information from her. So that's an investigation that's being launched. The question keeps coming up to me, are we doing lawsuits? That's being explored. And again, we don't control or own any of this. So if other people want to jump in and get involved in this or have expertise, please, we welcome you. We've brought in some really wonderful new people onto the committee from the Waterhouse Committee that shifted over. But the lawsuit question is being explored, especially because you saw a precedent for that from a single woman over in the East Bay. And so there is a precedent and we're exploring that. We are having more meetings with Huffman and Rodoni on Friday. So I plan to give a detailed summary next week, posting it on the Bolinas Civic Group, Nextdoor, and the Hearsay. So I'm afraid we don't have time for questions, but I wanted to make sure at least I did a transfer of information as much as we currently have, and a lot has unfolded in the last 48 hours. So please continue to keep the faith. We're not done, and we do plan on having a post office back in Bolinas, but I think I probably need to close there, right? I think I might have violated my 5-minute rule.
It's okay. It's okay. Everybody's clapping. We're all good. And, it's super important. And thank you, Aenor, for the update. I know we did it real quick here to get you out there, and I really appreciate the time tonight. I'm going to take you off the big screen, turn back on the keynote, and we'll get back to everything else. She's doing a heart thing with her hearts, but... Okay. Give me 1 second, everyone, to get us back into prezo mode. And take away the spotlight from Aenor. I appreciate you so much there. Remove spotlight. I'm gonna take it back to myself, and we're gonna...
I want to give hats off. I'm going to take a moderator prerogative here, but there's a team behind all this. I'm just the talking head tonight, but there's an incredible team and a lot of work that continues to go on. The sign changing, very dedicated people in 80-mile-an-hour winds, but also, of course, John Borg continues to press on. But our whole committee is working on this, so I don't deserve the credit for this.
Well, I appreciate the update to everybody, and yeah, it's true. Bolinas Civic Group does have a large group, and we've been doing this for some time. And does everybody know this is a 1-year anniversary? Every 1-year anniversary. Remember February? Yeah, a lot. So much has happened. Gosh, so much has happened. Okay, next slide. Community announcements. I'm going to switch over and introduce Megan Matson, who is going to go first. 1 minute, she says. 1 minute. Maybe less.
So we started. Okay, we've launched the Boot. It's Bolinas opposing Trump and Trumpism. This election is going to be decided by maybe less than 200,000 people in 4 states, maybe 7. Right now, we can grow more votes in those states. So we started the postcard writing. Jill Moore joined me. We're going to headquarter at 7 Wharf Road. I've got 4 packets here. It's 20 voters, this time in each packet in Arizona. And there's a QR code that takes them straight to voter registration. 26% of the voters that were reached out to in this fashion in 2022 registered to vote. So we can add it up. This is happening all over the country. We've got sister groups. Come up for packets after the amazing Bolinas Civic Group meeting. Happy anniversary, happy Valentine's
Thank you.
Day.
Happy anniversary. How fitting. Next up, we've got our good friend Annie O'Connor with Bolinas Community Land Trust, who has 2 minutes, updates in 2 minutes.
Thank you. So I am really delighted to share that we have hired a new administrative director. Look forward to introducing her to all of you sometime soon, and we will update our office hours and share those soon. We have also been getting a lot of pressure to put in those cluster boxes at BCLT properties. So if Aenor or anybody from that committee wants to reach out, it is presenting equity issues. We would like to talk more and figure out how to best support the post office efforts. There is an echo that I'm finding a little distracting.
You got it. You just keep going.
Okay, but I'm going to just power through it.
Power
So
through.
we also want to share that 31 Wharf has officially entered a new phase. We're partnering with Habitat and look forward to sharing more. Construction will not start this year. The Aspen homes that we sold to Habitat, they will sell to qualified home buyers in the lottery. They've had 85 applicants. And the emergency RV campground, the residents have named Bolinda Vista, so you can feel free to use that if you'd like. And unfortunately, I have to share that of the 27 RVs, 12 of them have manufacturing errors that are serious enough that they're going to be swapped out. So you'll see that. We also have been delayed. We've heard the request. We've been delayed in the privacy fencing. Options are limited by the coastal appeal. What we've settled on is cattle fencing with some native plant screening, and that'll go in as soon as conditions allow. That's it. Did I do it?
Okay, that's it for community announcements. And coming up, community speakers. Tonight we have 2 community speakers. I believe we start with John Cozi. John. Hey, here he comes. Is that it? That's what you want.
That's what I want.
Speak loud and powerful.
Good evening, everybody, and happy Valentine's Day. I'm John Cozi for the Bolinas Eucalyptus Project. This is the first time we've presented here in several months, so let's back up a bit till September, which was our last time here. At that point, the BPUD had just officially endorsed our project. The project, again, is to remove 11 acres of eucalyptus trees either side of Mesa Road, Adelima Bolinas Road. We have a website. Check it out if you're not familiar with the project. Then, shortly after the September meeting, the Bolinas Fire Protection District also endorsed our project and wrote us a pretty powerful and effective letter, so we're grateful for that. And then since then, very little has happened. We've pretty much been on a stall, waiting for extensive monarch butterfly research and monitoring. David Ainley has very generously donated hundreds of hours of his time to get a real look at the movement amongst the various sites in the Bolinas Meta Roost, and given the butterfly community insight into this area's butterfly habitat interchangeability that no one's ever had before. And that has been a great gift to not only our project, but to the environmental butterfly world at large. So thank you, David. But this has pretty much put us on hold. As soon as we have our butterfly report from Dr. Stu Wise, who we hired to do, he's pretty much regarded as the preeminent authority on monarch butterflies. He's been working on it for a few months. He'll provide us with the report. And at that time, we'll have everything that the county planner has requested us to have to move through the next round of pre-application and try to get to down the road to permitting this whole project. Behind me is just me. What happened to the tree? There it is. So that is a eucalyptus tree on Olima Bolinas Road. It's one of the approximately 40 trees that was truncated, cut to a high stump by PG&E in 1964. When we started this project and we walked around with the fire department and the county public works and Rodoni and Marin fire, I pointed at these trees with my little laser and said, danger lurks within. And I kind of get the feeling that people were like, yeah, whatever, it looks fine. Well, this is what is going on inside those previously truncated trees. Now we are approaching, if you combine last winter with this winter, within our project footprint, there were 28 blowdowns last year. We're at 30 this year. Now, all but one have been blowdowns. This is the first spar failure we've had from one of these old stumps. But that ratio will change. And there are places on Olima Bolinas and on Mesa Road where you could easily end up with 6, 8, 10 of these on the road in one incident. A domino scenario is ripe to occur. And I hate to be, saying we told you so to the agencies, but every single thing we predicted that would happen with these trees when we started this in 2020, well before all these incidents had occurred, every single prediction we've made has come to pass. So they're not acting like it, but I would hope behind closed doors, they're feeling a little bit of heat. To that end, what we need is everyone to be vocal. I know a lot of our outrage quota is used up with the post office, but if we could muster some additional outrage and spend it in this direction, that would be helpful. I've said it before, and one of these days it will be true that we'll take a page from John Borg's book and have some envelopes and letters pre-written that all you have to do is sign and send to the relevant authorities. 5 minutes?
Yeah, you good?
Okay, so Howard Dillon has a question. Shocking.
No one can hear. No one can. No.
The one that was up there that I said was a previously truncated tree. That's rot and decay, similar to what you would experience in a bad tooth. If that was a healthy tree, it would be one uniform color with perhaps it would be expected in a tree over 100 years old for a small amount of decay in the center of the tree. But all those different funky colors you see, that's different organisms feasting away in there. And what happens is these trees are cut to a stump, and then 100 little sprouts happen. And over time, 2 or 3 or 4 of them become dominant, but they're in the early process. When it's a thicket up there, they're collecting leaves and building soil, basically, and then the tree encapsulates that, and you never have something as strong as the original tree trunk. So in 1964, when they cut down all these trees, 2 stumps, they stopped short of removing them altogether because the bottom 20 feet of a tree removal is the most expensive part. It's the heaviest wood. And they just left them there. And every year came back and trimmed to get their lateral clearance from the wires. And all they had to do was turn around in their little bucket and snip, snip, and eventually the stump would have given up and died. So the roadside trees that you see with multiple stems or spars were literally created by PG&E through their gross mismanagement, flat out malpractice. And I'm in contact with the head of their vegetation management for the North Bay, and he just says nice things, but it's a bunch of lip service.
John,
At some point, we're
what's the
going to
brass
need legal
tacks? Brass
representation.
tacks, John.
Okay.
What are the brass tacks? They're dead on the inside. They're dead on the inside.
Yeah, it's just rotten dead.
rotten dead on the
punk.
inside.
You can go
Yeah.
pull handfuls of that out.
Okay,
We're done.
we're done.
Are we done?
Yeah, we're done. We got
Thank you very much.
Thanks, John.
All right.
Thank you, everybody. Sorry for keeping it moving. We're just on a timeline, as we always are. Next up, we've got our good friend Seamus. And I don't know what happened to the speaker over here. I apologize for the folks in the room. We'll deal with it. But everyone can still hear, correct? He's got a super loud voice. And Seamus is from West Bryn.
I'm a tall guy.
Tall guy. Get up on that mic.
All right. Well, happy Valentine's Day, everybody. Oh, that delay is kind of funny.
I'll just power through.
All right. Well, I feel the love in this room. It's nice to see everybody. All right, we got our slides up here. Perfect. So I'm here to present a little bit about the work I've been doing. I'm with West Marin Community Services out in Point Reyes Station, but I'm one of the co-leads of the West Marin Community Response Team, which, if you haven't heard of that, that's totally fine. It's a collection of non-governmental and governmental agencies, both local. Bolinas Community Center is a big partner. KWMR is a partner. It's a collection of agencies that came about in response to the pandemic. So if you've gotten vaccines out here in Bolinas, there's a chance that the community response team helped coordinate that. A lot of the early energy and work in the West Marin Community Response Team. And I should say there's 4 zones in Marin County. So it's a county-led initiative. I'm one of the co-leads of the West Marin. There's one in Novato, the Canal District, and also South Marin too. And basically, early on, it was to help get equitable resources out to the community as it relates to the pandemic, whether that's information, testing. So we have a whole, which still continues to this day, a distribution of getting tests out to the community, COVID tests, and also equitable distribution of where to do vaccine sites, which included Bolinas Community Center, and also the firehouse and Bolinas Firehouse. And it was just trying to get equitable resources in relation to the pandemic, and also information and sharing the same messaging throughout West Marin community and Marin at large. Our motto, yes, so this is kind of our logo. We're stronger together. So essentially this community response team and in West Marin in particular, it's just been an avenue for us to talk to each other, both with Marin County Public Health and the operation of emergency management, and also local agencies. So it's just been an avenue for bilateral communications. When needs come up, they can get addressed. Like I said, a lot of our early work was around the pandemic. And we, in West Marin, we're kind of unique in the way we've had to equitably distribute our resources as it relates to the pandemic and other public health threats and disaster response as well. As you all know, West Marin is a very large area and has a fraction of the population, but it's probably about 3/4 of Marin County. So because of that, we kind of set up a hub system to equitably distribute resources, which Bolinas Community Center is one of those hubs, along with Tamales Town Hall, Inverness Firehouse, West Marin Community Services, and San Geronimo Valley Community Centers. So a lot of resources that come to West Marin as it relates to our work are then kind of distributed out to these hubs we have going on, whether it be vaccines, COVID tests, or most recently, a lot of our, what we've been distributing out is Narcan, which I'll talk about in a second. But so that's how we've tried to equitably distribute resources. What slide am I at now? Oh yeah, so I've already touched on that. We can move on. I only got 5 minutes. So, now, we're still doing a lot around the pandemic, and we're also doing a lot more around disaster response, and especially around the work of wraparound services post-disaster. We work really closely with VOAD and Marin County agencies on like if there's needs that come up post-disaster or public health impact, we can help get those needs addressed in the community, and this includes all of West Marin. One of the big needs that has risen to the surface post-pandemic, not that it was also been a factor for many years, but has been exacerbated by the pandemic, is overdoses. In fact, in Marin County, overdoses from opioids are the leading cause of death under the age of 55 in all of Marin County. So one of our strategies in the West Marin Community Response Team is to, well, kind of the same way we've distributed COVID tests in the community, we've also been distributing Narcan, which includes many agencies, but it's also using these 24-hour, we call them the LOX boxes, like these access boxes that are always stocked with Narcan. In fact, the Bolinas Community Center has one installed with the work we've done. And so right now we have 5 in West Marin. Am I in that slide? Yes, I am. Okay, so we just got one installed in San Geronimo Valley. There's actually 2 in Inverness. We have one at the Point Reyes Pharmacy, and we have one at the Bolinas Community Center. And we're actually not stopping there. We're continuing to install these boxes. I think we got one coming up at the Lima Campground. We're working on getting one in Tamales. They're building a new community board there. So this is a good way to get 24-hour access in case of an overdose emergency. And by the way, I encourage all of you to just carry Narcan, which is this life-saving medication that immediately reverses opioid overdose. Carry it in your first aid kit, your purse, your bag. It's incredibly life-saving, and we're trying as best we can to get it out in the community. In fact, this next slide, so believe it or not, and just to show you, this is kind of a scary point, but it's also like something that makes it worthwhile that we're doing this. Is we've been distributing Narcan for about 10 months now, and we know, and this slide is actually wrong, I apologize. It's actually, we know we've saved at least 5 lives from the West Marin distribution we've done of distributing Narcan. And one of those was actually in Bolinas that we know of. So it's work we continue to do. This slide's a little outdated. I apologize, I forgot to update it, but we've distributed well over 400 units of Narcan in West Marin. It's actually well above that. We've done a lot of Narcan trainings, so if that's something you want to do in Bolinas, we can talk, and just utilizing these nasal sprays. And so this has been a current focus of our work, but it's not the only focus. We are doing a lot more in disaster response as it relates to public health and community resiliency. So there's a lot of other work that we're doing, but Narcan has been a big push in recent months. And so we've been able to continue a steady supply of Narcan as the way we've done with COVID tests, getting it out to the community through various means. And yes, so that's just one of the successes of the West Marin Community Response Team. I should say this is a model that has been highlighted at the White House as a really effective way to reach community residents, because it relies on government agencies using nonprofits and community centers and places as trusted messengers, and we're all sharing the same message so we can get out less misinformation, more accurate information, and timely as it comes. So it's been a model that's been used at the White House. In fact, the work we've done around vaccinations has made West Marin one of the highest vaccinated areas in the country. And that is in part through some of the community response team work we did in the equitable distribution of vaccination sites. And so that's all I got for you this evening. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much. Okay, thanks, Seamus. It's great to see all the work you guys are doing right down the road. And for the record, the Narcan box is right out those front doors. It's always accessible 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And up now is community projects. And who remembers what community projects are? I do. Community projects are projects that the Bolinas Civic Group supports and helps and facilitates. And we've run a cadence, a big cadence over the last year. And we've really touched on a lot of ongoing topics. We've brought local presenters, we have county presenters in these projects, and we have relevance and value, and we're increasing the communication of our community. And I'd say that's very true, and we do it quarterly with our Bolinas Civic Soup. Raise hands if you were at Bolinas Civic Soup. Yeah, okay, okay. That's like, you know, not half, but close. And guess what? I said it was quarterly, and guess what? We're coming up in March. And the reason I bring this up tonight is important. It's because a lot of the meetings that we do, you know, talking is challenging. We're doing online. We've got people, you know, it's hard to get the room engaged, but we want to have conversations with the community, and we want to have focused discussions about the topics that we talk about. And so the last Civic Soup, we had a whole diagram of all of the different areas. And if you see the posters now, we bring them up. And tonight, we're going to talk about, we have a big project that we're going to talk about, and that's the sea level rise. And so before we get into that, I just want to say that we're going to talk about this at the next Civic Soup. We're going to talk about this in great detail because everyone's going to want to talk about it. And so the question I have for the community is, what skills and energy will you bring to the table? Well, there will be soup at the table, but what are you going to bring to the table? Okay. So I'm Will Bartlett. This is the Bolinas Civic Group, and I'd like to present a large presentation from Steve. We're going to get him set up here, and it's going to be on sea level rise. So give us 1 second to get sorted, and we'll get you there back on the video and everything in a second. Did I go through that all too quick? All right, fantastic. All right, let's get this out the way. Let's get Steve down here.
Yeah, I gotta be on point.
Let's get you here. Sorry for the microphone moving noises, everybody.
Okay. Just right in my face here.
It's right in your face, I know. Sorry. Cables, other things. Lots of murmuring, lots of discussion. Let's get you right in there. Good?
Okay. How's that sound?
1 second. Click the next slide. Perfect. Hi, Steve. Can everyone hear you?
Well, thank you all for coming here and coming on Zoom. My name is Steve Matson, and tonight's presentation is going to be on my observed concern and impacts on Bolinas. Sea rise is going to cause many, in the not too distant future, many very serious problems for Bolinas all around the Bolinas Lagoon as the oceans force its rise. But tonight, we're going to focus on downtown Bolinas and the impacts specifically on the approximately 34,000 square feet. Is this? 34,000 square feet of non-residential functions in the downtown. And when I was wandering around the internet looking for information that would give you some idea about the impacts on downtown, I came across two sources of information, which when I put them together, started giving me some alarm. And so if we can put up and this was the first source that began to cause this alarm. And it's a graph that's put together by NOAA, which is a National Oceanic and Atmospheric Agency. And it describes the possible pathways for the future sea level rise. And over here, there are 5 pathways, the colored curved lines. I basically ignored the bottom 2 because they go off into the 21st century, and I'm trying to stick within this one. The upper 3, what differentiates them is what we don't do about our emissions and sending all this bad stuff up into the atmosphere, and our sad addiction on fossil fuels, all of which is causing the expanding of the oceans, the melting of the ice sheets of Greenland and Antarctica, and the melting glaciers. And my understanding, and when I say I am a rank amateur on the subject of sea rise, but bear with me. My understanding of the intermediate, this occurs, is if we begin to get our act together on dealing with emissions. And then there's the high, which my understanding is that if we continue on the path that we're on right now, and the intermediate is somewhere in between. And over here, those are the levels that sea rise would be creating above the heights above the level that the oceans were in 2000. And then I found a bit of information from NASA that from their satellite measurements of sea rise, they've detected another 3.6 inches of rise to all of these numbers. So these are somewhat dated. And what this begins to show is that everything is increasing. Everything is getting worse. I gotta drink something here. And to give you an example of how the graph works, if we took the 3-foot level, which I will show later in phase 2, is the beginning of the sea levels causing some real problems in our downtown, mostly in the area down by the bar. And as we go across, if the high graph would have that event happening in 44 years from now, the intermediate graph or pathway would be in 52 years, and the intermediate in 71 years. And then that same process goes across with each level as you go up. And the 4 to 5 foot phase has most of where we are right now and toward Brighton happening in, that would begin happening in 53 years on the high and 63 years in the intermediate. So that is the first source of information that began this alarm. So if you can go to the next one. Okay, this, at some point, I came across NOAA's, it's a sea level rise simulator. And actually my granddaughter, Cass, right here, sent that link to me. And what it allows you to do anywhere on the coasts of continental US, it allows you to go in and type in it. They have buttons that go from 1 up to 10 feet. And in this case, I typed in 3 feet, and it brought up that image right there, a very pixelated image, but that's the market. Right there is the bar. And I took that and I drew with my CAD program a line all the way around that very pixelated, guessing, from one point to another. And I came up with the gridded shape. I took that and transcribed it onto this prepared map that shows those. I also outlined all of the non-residential. Now this is where it gets kind of all in, but that 3 foot rise area is above what's called the mean high water. And that is, I'll read this for you. It's the average of higher high water heights of each tidal day measured over and this one really gets me, over the national tidal datum epoch. And that epoch, they say, usually lasts about 19 years. So it's this 19-year average that the mean high water. And that's what a 3-foot rise, that's the area that Bolinas would be affected. And then coupling this with the NOAA graph over here, their intermediate pathway would say that this was all going to happen in 71 years. The intermediate high would happen in 52 years, and the high pathway would be happening in 44 years. That's not that far off. So next slide. And then this, again, working from the NOAA sea level rise simulator, this is how I transcribed and how it looked, put down on that prepared map. And this would be the 4-foot rise. And intermediate high would have that happening in 63 years, and the high in 53 years. Again, not that far off. And you can see that it's gone from right there, which is that's the Coast Cafe, and it's come up to the library. We're right there now. And the other thing, that's the downtown BPUD water or pumping station that pumps an awful lot of material up to the ponds. So that's a bit of a problem that also has to be addressed. So going on. And this is the 5-foot rise. And you can see it's gone from, 3 foot was there, then it moved to 4 feet, and then to 5 feet. That's the old post office in the Waterhouse building right there. And you can see it's starting to encroach on the hardware store. At this point, the downtown is out of business. It's got to go someplace else. And the intermediate high pathway, which would they say would occur in 2100, would be in 76 years. The high would be in 63 years. So going on. And then I showed this one because it's the highest. It's the 10-foot rise, which was the highest on that simulator. And it gets all the way up. That's Ocean or Park Avenue and Brighton right there. The one good thing here is it is slowed to rise as those roads began their own rise. And from a different graph, they say that this medium high would be in 106 years, and the other would be in 76 years. So moving on. Okay. This is, for most people, is the heart of this community. And these are all of these functions that I have outlined in red are what provide all of the life and services for this community. And that's about 34,000 square feet of space. And so as sea level rises, where does this all go? And wherever it goes, it must end up in close proximity to one another. You know, people come into town to do some shopping at the market, and they'll go over to the Coast Cafe for a lunch or coffee. People in these offices, they're there all day. They'll go buy a sandwich or have lunch somewhere. We're in the community center right there, and I know that after this, I'm going to go over to the bar and have half a dozen drinks. So where does this all go and be in proximity? And this is where will start getting into serious trouble in this community. I've lived here since 1970, and I helped write up the Bolinas community plan. I know this place pretty well. The only place that will work for providing a new village for Bolinas, where it's all together, is Mesa Park. And so I took all those pieces that added up to the 34,000 square feet, and I just dropped them on Mesa Park. There's the skateboard park, basketball court, the children's playground. And then there's this big field up here that used to be the baseball field. It's unused right now. And then, of course, the baseball and soccer. And there again, I got to pause. I've done all of this proposing, that we solve this problem with Mesa Park. And I have not talked to the boards of BPUD or Mesa Park. And that's probably rude of me, but I was sort of on a roll. And when I get on a roll and I'm designing things, I just keep going. And without worrying about trying to get on agendas. This led me to be encouraged and ask the question, could a good site plan that took this 34,000 square feet of non-residential function and put it together in a good site plan that also took care of all these, it's the attendant services like parking and circulation and so on. So after many sketches and studies and moving ahead, damming the torpedoes, I came up with this. And the red is the 34,000 square feet. And you can see there's the property line up and around. There's that big dirt parking area right now. That is the skateboard park, which could stay right where it is in this plan. The baseball court would have to be moved back here. And sadly, and with great reluctance, I could find nowhere to locate the children's playground. So on the first floor, we have that 34,000 square feet, all arranged around I like to think, a European style plaza. And on this area, we could have a second floor that would produce, I think, 24,000 or so square feet of second floor for residential. It could absorb some of the residences downtown that are being forced out by sea rise. And it could also be used for, say, some hotel rooms for Smiley's with the lobby down below in the bar. And then we also have two functions that we're talking about here that the town's been talking about for a long time, putting on Mesa Park. And that would be the post office and the pool. That'd be the dressing rooms and the pool right there. Okay, I show a BPUD here. This takes some explanation. BPUD is on Elm. The office is currently in a condemned building that has to be torn down. BPUD has to build a new office building. And so my very unsolicited suggestion to the BPUD board is that they consider selling the Elm property, which is 2 acres of, could, you know, as a longtime designer of buildings, it could be a terrific spot for an architect to design something there. And why not sell that for millions and use that money to build their office on property they already own? I would love to hear their response to that, again, unsolicited suggestion. And the money from that, the sale of that property, could also help cover the cost of demolishing the existing building. And so for the time being, sort of ignore this area over here and concentrate on that which is on the existing BPUD property. I've ranged this complex of buildings with a circulation so that all of these could be served for deliveries, emergency uses, and so on. The post office is located where a mail delivery truck could daily deliver mail. The BPUD, which needs, the workers would be, by the way, the BPUD yard, I would suggest, would be moved over here by the sewer ponds lab site. But the workers are in and out of the office, and they could have their own parking. And the Bolinas market, that's about the square footage of the existing market. And it was a one function that made some sense to, and was easier to locate, for one thing, there. And it could also have large truck deliveries, which could also deliver to, for example, the People's Store. And I maximize parking because this facility, especially with second floor residential, would probably be limited by parking. So that's why you see all this parking. And to give you a sense of a scale, if you parked down here and walked to the plaza, it would be like one of you right now walking from where you are to the bar. So it's not a long distance. That's to help you give some sense of the scale of this. And then this area over here, if we could negotiate about a 1.2 acre parcel with the land trust and overcome the environmental issues attendant with that parcel, you could put in, when the Bolinas store is forced to move, that would be the room that is about the equivalent of what they have now for a store and their yard. And I'm also suggesting here that this could be a location for a gas station and an EV charging area. The town could use them both right now. And let's see if I've covered everything there. Oh, and this could also allow for a village green where you could have farmers markets and the food bank and so on could function there. On weekends, you could have all kinds of setups here that people could come and shop and get their food. So let's move on. Okay, I did this to give you a closer look of this building complex and how it is all arranged around the main plaza with sort of a smaller plaza that gives access to all of this 24,000 square feet of function. And to give you a sense of the scale of it, I drew this red line, which outlines the plaza, and plopped it down onto an area that we're all familiar with, you know, between the market, Coast Cafe, museum, and bar. And you can see this is sort of the heart of downtown, and you can imagine what goes on there in the 4th of July going on here at some point. And then this also, these are all 50 feet wide, and I did that just because it would lend itself to what are very fashionable these days. They're pre-engineered structural systems that you can order in increments, and they provide the bones, the structural elements for a given building. And they come in increments. So as downtown Bolinas was forced out, you could move along here in increments that you purchased from these companies that provide that structure. And then you could apply anything you wanted on the surface. And that would also, if you had a good architect down the line, I know that they could turn this into a very fine-looking complex. If you got a bad architect, you'd end up with a pretty crappy-looking building. And look at the blue in its relationship to the rest of this structure, and we'll take that to the next slide. This slide shows the absolute importance of having a plan. You know, we're talking about post office and the pool at Mesa Park. Where exactly do you put them where they don't screw up future planning for the use of this really important piece of property? And you can see how they're placed, but they're placed within the outlines of the plan that you've just been looking at. And for example, this road would be exactly on the road that is part of the master plan. If you wanted to get a gravel road back to the basketball court, you could do it on the planned road for the future. And then again, I show this EV charging with a detail of it up here, just for you all to think about on that. And this is what I call phase 1, which is the non-sea level rise facilities. So we could go to the next. And then this would be the phase 2, which would be take care of the 3 to 4 foot rise, which is there's the market, surf shop, the bar and so on, and Miguel's dental office, and then the park. And you could see how it would incrementally, you would work around in those structural increments, and these would be the unfinished parts here. And you could get about that first phase or second phase, you could get about 18,000 square feet of second floor residential or whatever. And so moving on. And then this would be phase 3, which would be the 4 to 5 foot rise, which takes care of this part of the town. We're right there now, and that would take care of these functions up toward Brighton. And at this point, you would have the full second floor for residential and so on uses. Okay, moving on. Phase 4 is basically everything, including the Bolinas we should actually, could we go back to the previous one? I forgot to. Phase 3, going back to the NOAA graph that we began with, the intermediate high for this would happen in 63 years, and the high pathway would be in 53 years. It just gives you a time, and I will keep, trying to point out that this is all happening in the not too distant future, and we should be planning for it. So moving on again. And we've done that one. Oh, this one would happen in 76 years in the intermediate pathway and 63 years in the high pathway. And we can go on. And I show this just to show that the efficiency of this plan. All of that yellow is, or whatever color it's been turned to here, could all be solar roof. So you could do great things with your energy consumption. And it also shows how compact all of the infrastructure for this complex, all of this would be. All of your plumbing, your electrical, your mechanical systems, they're all concentrated. They're not spidering all over the landscape. And you could do the same on top of the Bolinas market and a canopy over the stations. So I think that, let's, what's the next one? Yeah, okay. This comes back to the first phase, or the first slide. And I show it, and at this point, I have to say that my tendency is to look at that, and it's because I see us doing nothing of any significance about our emissions. We have all these we had a COP28. It was held in, a global summit on global warming, and it was held in a country that is dependent entirely on the oil industry, and there's just so much money being made off of oil. Yes, last year the oil companies had record profits. I just don't see any action of any significance happening. And so I see these of these curves. This one, if we are, I think we should begin in this community a structured conversation that is looking at that curve and those dates. For example, 2-foot rise is going to, cause some sandbags, and that's happening in 32 years. 3-foot in 44 years. 4-foot in 53 years, 5-foot, 63, and so on. And that's not that far off. And if the town were to accept this, what some people may consider this outrageous proposal for Mesa Park, if we were to accept that, it would take a lot of careful planning. The engineering, you name it, really a complex. And why not begin a discussion now? There's so much talent in this town that could take this all a long way down toward having us play a solution for taking this wonderful town and moving it to, a new life up on the mesa. This is going to happen. It's inevitable. There's just no question about it. Stitson's been working on a plan for years now, and I don't think their plan's going to work. We could start a plan that would solve the worst problem confronting Bolinas in its history, which is its downtown. So, for God's sakes, let's get get serious about this. Thank you for all listening to my drone. Good, thank you. Oh, and I forgot to thank Will here, who helped me put this and was a good sounding board in putting it together, this whole presentation. He uses magic of technical to take my stuff and so, yeah. Oh, here, you better take this before I use it on somebody.
I gave Steve a very powerful laser. I gave Steve a very powerful laser tonight, so in case anyone spoke up, we could take care of it. Tina got it. Okay, the good news is we are running a little late. Everyone's trying to get started, but I just want to do a couple things. All of these slides is on the Bolinas Civic Group website. If you go there, I just put them up there. It's in the project section under Sea Level Rise. So the Prezo is up there. Go take a look. I'm going to take off. Wait, yeah. I'm going to take off my hat for a second. If we go back, so I just want to show you guys some stuff, just because I drive around a lot. Is everyone familiar that the road is collapsing on Wharf and they're going to go in and they're going to take care of it, right? It's because it's undercut. It's undercut because it's collapsing and you can stand up on side of there. I want to show some things that I've noticed. This was, hold on, sorry, buddy. This is on February 9th. This was a 6.8-foot tide. This was just the other day on Friday. And you remember how calm it was? But look how close what's that? Yeah, it's very calm. Look how close the water was at a super high King's tide. And I took photos of that. Here's another one though. This one's slightly different. This is at a foot lower, but with a storm surge. And look how close it is, just creeping up. Right, it's just creeping up. It's so close. Sure, but it's also the lowest point that we have on Wharf. And if that becomes, et cetera, et cetera. I want to show you some other ones too, just so we know of like what the storms look like. And I know I'm new to all these storms and stuff, so I'm just putting the information in the pictures that I've seen. This was a 6'2" tide, 11 a.m. on December 28th. Big south surge that was really rocking and rolling. And that resulted in this little lovely video that I took of the inundation of that surge as it would come in, right? Already lifting up from the high, which wasn't that high, all the way up to another 3 feet as it went. It was pretty neat. And this again here is the calm, one more, sorry. Oh yeah, sorry, oh shoot, crapola. All right, there we go. This was the calm day. So this was the king tide on a calm day. All right, just to get back to that one. In 2024, we will have 140 tides over 6 foot, 48 in December and February, our storm season, 5 7-foot tides in November and December, and 39 at over 6'6". And again, this is one of our community projects. We want to talk about this. As Steve said, his suggestion is we get together. And so the Bolinas Civic Soup in March. Unfortunately, I did not get a date, but it'll be in the end of March. We're going to get that together for everyone. And so go review the materials. Go take a look, think about everything that was said, and then let's show up and have some structured, valued conversations about what was presented tonight and what we think about it and what we think we can do as a community, okay? That's all I've got. The next meeting is on March 13th, 6 to 8 p.m. There's a band about to play. I know, guys, I appreciate you guys letting us go over a little bit, and you can always find more on bolinascivicgroup.org. Thank you very much.
Yay. Beautiful.
This is where I turn on the music. There.